Hey, this is Blade, co-founder and graphic designer at Tamriel Foundry.
And this is Atropos, creator and developer of Tamriel Foundry.
And we're here today to talk to you about some of the misconceptions surrounding the Elder Scrolls Online and debunk any false information you may have heard.
Let's start by talking about the game's developers. Bethesda, the game studio responsible for Skyrim, is not the studio developing the Elder Scrolls Online. Bethesda has a sister company, ZeniMax Online Studios, both of which operate as subsidiaries of their parent company, ZeniMax Media. The big takeaway here is that Bethesda game studios can still dedicate their efforts to producing and publishing single-player games, since they won't have to divert time and energy to developing the MMO. Likewise, ZeniMax Online gets to take advantage of all the lore and art assets that their sister company has produced over the years.
The next thing we're going to be talking about is how ZeniMax is handling servers in the Elder Scrolls Online, because it's probably a little different than what you're used to. Instead of using multiple servers to host ESO on, ZeniMax is only going to be using one server called a mega server. This doesn't mean that ZeniMax has done away with multiple servers, and they have created one huge enormous server for ESO. Instead, they have found a way to network all of the different servers together and only separate players through phasing. This means that when you're in-game, you don't have to re-roll a new character or switch servers to go play with your friends. All you have to do is switch world phases. So you're probably wondering how you're going to find your friends in this enormous server, but it's actually not going to be that complicated. ZeniMax has programmed the mega server to act intelligently, and it follows a priority system when determining where to place you in the game world. At the top of the priority system is your guild and your guildmates. When you log on, if you have guildies online, the mega server is going to place you in phases with them. If you're not in a guild, or you don't have guildies online, the next priority are people on your friends list. If you don't have friends or guildies online, the mega server will then place you in phases with people that you share similar interests with. The way the mega server knows if you share similar interests with people is a survey that you fill out after character creation. After you create a character, you have the option of filling out a survey that lets the mega server know what type of player you are, like if you're into PvP, RP, grouping, or soloing, and the mega server will place you with people who are gamers just like you.
By this point, you've all probably heard that combat in ESO draws direct inspiration from the action-driven, real-time combat system featured in Skyrim. There are some key differences that have not been as widely explained. While the control system is very similar, with left-click triggering light and power attacks while right-click engages block, targeting and ability usage works a bit differently for the MMO. There are two ways to target enemies. By simply aiming your reticle at a foe, you soft-lock onto them with an intuitive, hands-free system. You don't have to actually aim your attacks though. Spells and abilities are automatically directed at your target. Alternatively, you can hard-lock onto an enemy in order to continue focusing attacks on a specific opponent. This will be important to keep from losing your target during large-scale fights. Combat performance is governed by the usual attributes of health, stamina, and magicka, although armor and power also count as stats in ESO. Perhaps surprisingly, ZeniMax Online won't be reviving the pantheon of strength, agility, speed, etc. At each level up, you have the opportunity to increase one of the three main attributes, unlocking passive perks at threshold levels of each. While health is critical for survivability, stamina and magicka are both crucial for combat performance. Blocking, interrupting foes, escaping crowd control, and executing special melee attacks all consume stamina, while casting spells relies on your current magicka reserves. Active combat abilities have no cooldown timer, so players are forced to manage these combat resources carefully, go for broke at the beginning of a fight, and risk leaving yourself incapable of reacting in an extended skirmish.
The Elder Scrolls Online is a three-faction game composed of the Ebonheart Pact, the Eldmeri Dominion, and the Daggerfall Covenant. Each faction has specific provinces that are designated for their faction. Factions cannot venture into enemy faction territory, which means that someone playing an Ebonheart Pact character can't go into Daggerfall Covenant provinces. Provinces are going to be their appropriate size, which means Skyrim in the single-player game is going to be the same size as Skyrim in the Elder Scrolls Online. However, not all areas of each province are going to be available at launch. ZeniMax has already stated that they're saving specific areas in each province for future content releases.
Elder Scrolls Online has a hotbar, which allows you to slot 2 weapon attacks, 5 class skills, and an ultimate ability. The choices available are determined by your chosen class, and are designed to allow for a tremendous degree of flexibility in your preferred loadout. Every class in ESO can use every weapon and armor type, so designing niche builds to fill a desired role is only dependent on your class's base ability selection. Your proficiency with each weapon type levels up as you use them, unlocking new and improved active attacks. All classes have access to spells, although obviously some classes possess a greater specialization in magic usage than others. While the spells in the game at least nominally originate from the traditional schools of magic, the array of explicit skills that has been a trademark of past test games is not featured directly. Instead, individual abilities level up as you successfully use them, granting more advanced and dangerous versions as your character advances in mastery.
Thank you for watching the first of many videos to come from Tamriel Foundry, and we hope this has cleared up any misinformation you may have heard about the Elder Scrolls Online.